Hey guys, welcome to episode 27 of the Pale Horse Podcast. All right, so I have Toby here. Toby is the newest guy on staff, right? You came on really this year. And so I'm super happy to have Toby as the guest on episode 27. Toby is like the weird cyber freak. He fits this niche of like half tactical, half cyber. And he's a total nerd, but we love him even though he's a nerd.
The guy in the van.
Yeah, you're a tech guy in the van. So do you want to introduce yourself to the podcast and tell a little bit about you and a little bit about staff and where they can find you in classes? And then Toby, I'm sure, is going to blow our brains with some weird tactical, nerdy, awesome cyber thing, which is great because it's way above my pay scale. I'm a knuckle dragger and he is like the knuckle director and makes sure that everyone's safe on the team with all their technology that we mess up all the time. So yeah, so go ahead, introduce yourself.
Sure. Well, as you mentioned, my name's Toby. I own a small business named Mining Ridge Armory, where I do teach, firearms instruction, concealed carry classes. We are an FFL. We do some advanced firearms tactics and combative classes as well. But our biggest focus, obviously, is cybersecurity. During the day, I actually have a public job too. I actually work for a Fortune 40 company in the information security tower, doing process and project management at the moment. But I've worked across a bunch of different areas in IT. So when you think about IT, a lot of people say, well, can you fix my computer? Or I'm in IT, and it's all generic. It's really the same concept as a doctor. You'll have a brain doctor, a foot doctor, a hand doctor. In IT, there's a lot of different niches, and I've been blessed in my life to have worked across multiple different niches, anywhere from hands-on and turning screws to multi-million-dollar project management, at scale for enterprise organizations, to process management, to resource or people management, that kind of thing. And it's all been IT-centric for quite a few decades now. So that's pretty much it. I mean, I've been a lifelong fan of firearms classes. I've taken a lot of combative courses and tactical courses from instructors all over the United States. Ryan lives within reasonable driving distance from me, and so I started taking classes from him a couple of years ago. Then I started teaching kind of, a little bit here, en passant. I was teaching a few cybersecurity classes like open source intelligence gathering and data recovery and transmission in non-permissive environments for about 2 years. But he invited me to be on staff as one of his instructors, I guess pretty much the only cybersecurity instructor that I know of this year. And again, still taking classes from him and other instructors, lifelong fan. So pretty much my thing is I do two things. I do computers, which is a very generic high level, and I do guns. I do computers and guns. That's what I do.
Nice. So I told Toby, I was like, blow our minds with something cyber related. And so he's got phones and stuff. I want to ask him first, what is the cyber nerds EDC? Because everyone asks, what's the contractors EDC? What's the Rangers EDC? What's the SWAT guys EDC? So now it's time. What is the nerdy guy in the van's EDC?
Sure. So mine obviously varies a little bit, not a great deal from your average EDC, but a little bit based on the environments that I have to work in. Most of the time I'm in corporate environments in larger cities. I do a lot of travel, on airplanes, vehicles, or not vehicles. I'm in vehicles, but I have to rent vehicles, things like that. So, or Uber, Uber cabs, things like that. So if we're talking, are you talking on body or
let's go things that you wouldn't leave home without on a daily basis.
Okay. Well, in that case, I'm pretty much just like everybody else. So, okay. I mean, I've got, from top down, this is not the hat that I came with today, but inside my hat, I'll usually have some E&E tools like, a bobby pin, a hair clip. I'll keep a couple of little small things like the little miniature picks to be able to pick locks, which is also one of my fun side habits. I enjoy doing that quite a bit. Working my way down from a top perspective because of the corporate environment and because of just life in general. Year round, I try to dress in layers, even in the summer, as much as possible. So at a minimum, I'm going to have, an undershirt of some kind, whether it's an A shirt. Usually I get the tall versions, even though I'm not tall, so that it tucks well and it doesn't pull up. Or a very tight fit V-neck for the exact same reason. So that it fits close next to my body. It gives me a layer of protection and sweat absorption between whatever I'm carrying around my waist and that. And then I will wear something out that's in layers. So today I'm wearing a t-shirt and then a flannel shirt, but in a corporate environment, it would be more like a dress shirt and then a vest, right? And we all know what I'm going for the waist on that. But what I'm going for on the top is then you can change appearance.
Correct. Yeah. So like an urban evasion.
You got it. If I had to get out of, let's say there was a protest in one of the towns, which has happened, one of the towns I'm in, I can disappear a little easier, lose the hat, that kind of thing.
Right.
Obviously, I don't wear the hat inside the corporate office. Working down on my waist. So unlike most of the instructors here on staff, I do carry my tourniquet on waist as opposed to on ankle. And the reason is because of peaking. Right? It happens. I know you've seen yourself do it when you're in restaurants. You go peak. Well, in a corporate environment, that could cause problems for me.
Sure.
If I'm wearing a firearm, so some corporate environments I'm not allowed to carry, and I'm actually even not allowed to carry on campus. Right? So there's a couple of corporate environments I work in where I can't even have it in my car. For the risk of getting fired. And so on those days, I mitigate that by I gas up ahead of time and I go straight to that place and straight back home. There is no stopping. And that's because I know I'm not going to be armed. But assuming I'm armed, I'll have my pistol, whichever one I'm carrying, and then a side saddle. So I have one extra magazine so that I can take care of, failures. Sure. Like I don't carry it because I expect to have that many shots.
Technical failures.
Yeah,
right.
It's going to be mechanical failures. And then, again, according to where I'm going to be, I'll either have speaking of phone mobile device security, let's put it on silent. So I'll have sometimes a knife, sometimes not. But again, I have to be real careful with that in North Carolina because there are laws that change that up. The belt I will always wear. The belt is always specifically designed for concealed carry, but I'm a huge fan of the Core Essentials, Kore Essentials. And the reason I'm a fan of them is, A, the rigidity, but more important is that micro adjustment on them.
Right.
And I've got one and I know this is going to go in a little bit into GQ kind of thing here too, but I've got, from a leather perspective, I've got the two different shades of brown and then a black. And then I've got my nylon one that I just wear every day. And reason is because according to what type of dress clothes I'm wearing, I can change that to match my shoes. Your belt should match your shoes. Then working down from there in my pockets, I have in my right rear or in a leg pocket, I'll keep a North American Rescue folder that has chest seal gloves, wound packing gauze, a strand of paracord that can be tied into hasty cuffs if necessary, and it's just paracord. I mean, we all know what that's good for. I keep a piece of battle wrap on me at all times. So this is all to go along with the tourniquet so that I'm sure that I can plug a hole. Right? I mean, if I make a hole or if somebody around me, which is more likely, or a car wreck because I travel a lot, I can mitigate that. In my right pocket, I usually carry a Leatherman at all times, and that's my go-to knife, right? So I don't often carry a fighting knife. I have them, but I'm old and I'm not really that hands-on guy, just to be honest. So I'm more, and in a corporate environment, I can get away with a Leatherman because it's a tool. Yeah. So I carry a Leatherman, a really good quality one, although there are some really good knockoffs now that the copyrights or patents have expired. I carry a set of Bluetooth earbuds that have the ability for noise canceling and sound augmentation. So I can get multiple things out of it. I can get passive ear protection if I need to throw them in and shoot. I can get auditory enhancement so I can hear people talking from a distance. I keep in my right pocket, I keep my keys. I keep a small container that was Carmex at one point in time, and now I've got Vicks Vapor Rub in it. And what I use that for is to obscure smells. Like if I go into an environment where there's a dead body or, because those things do happen, or just stink in general, I can obscure the smell. In my left side, I carry a wallet. That wallet is a Travax brand. It does have RFID protection capabilities, but in addition, the most important things is I carry some of my cards inside of another RFID sleeve, which produces or protects from RFID attacks or that particular threat vector. Inside of that wallet, I try to carry enough cash to get me home at all times. I only carry the minimum amount of cards that I use, including the super important ones, which is your passport card and a credit card. More on that later if I forget, remind me. And then I carry some more E&E tools inside of that wallet. So there's another bobby pin. There's a larger set of pick tools in there. Obviously, I carry a flashlight that's made for combative as well as. And then I carry, and I have to show this because it's really hard to describe. I carry I don't know what these things are called, but it's a key.
Oh yeah.
Key clip or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I've got all of my, it's the no-brainer aspect of it is I've got my keys, right? So I can fold them out. It takes up minimal room. It minimizes my sound signature.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not rattling in my pocket. So I can disappear from an auditory perspective. But more importantly, I keep a SIM tool on it, a handcuff key. I don't know if they can even see that, and a thumb drive, which has a live run operating system on it to where I can attach to a device and take control of it.
Nerd alert.
Oh, absolutely. For sure. Well, you knew there'd be nerd stuff, right?
Yeah.
There's got to be nerd stuff. And the SIM card tool, obviously for swapping out SIM cards on phone on the fly if you need to. But that one thumb drive, I'm able to, like I could walk into any public library and take over the computer and it's mine, as opposed to like it's 100% under my control instead of theirs. And of course there's the no-brainer stuff. Like if I needed to blank your password, or snag your data, there's that stuff too.
It's not scary at all.
Yeah. And I think it's it. So I got a pair of folding glasses because I'm old and I need glasses.
Okay. Yeah. Not scary at all. Just snag my computer with your pocket thumb drive. All right.
I could totally snag your computer with my pocket thumb drive. Yeah.
Leave my computer alone.
Don't let me touch it.
Oh, I wasn't going to. Just kidding.
I mean,
I don't know what your thumb drive has.
Yeah. It's got some scary stuff. Yeah.
So you have phones, right? And you have a case, right? So
and I carry a phone.
Yeah.
Actually, I carry 3 phones, but
nerd alert. All right. So phones, right? Describe phones and describe your. Yeah. Describe what you want to talk. I mean, so you're like, man, I have something. So. What's your tactical perspective? What was like on your heart to share with the group?
Well, so this is the stuff that was on my heart from a holiday and a security perspective.
Beautiful.
And that's a little more, I don't know if you want me to go into that or just go with the phones first.
No, go with that. I love it.
Well, we'll start with a little bit with the phones real quick, and then I'll jump into some of this stuff here about the holidays and how to protect yourself. I don't always carry all 3, let me be clear. But, I've got a company-approved phone that's actually a work phone, and I try to keep that.
All the same phone? Is that right?
No, not actually. So I've got a bag of phones down here that includes some, like literally I've got like 12 phones down there. This one is just an older augmented reality phone, one of the earlier generations from like 2016 or whatever the case may be. It's an Asus brand, just an old phone. Okay. Like you can get it Goodwill or whatever. This one is the Google Pixel Generation 6. Okay. This is also Google Pixel Generation 6, and this is a Google Pixel Generation 8.
So a lot of pixels.
There's a reason. Okay. There's a very, very distinct reason for that.
Okay. I'll trust your nerd skills.
Please. So from a nerd perspective, so the old Android phones, like you pick up an old Android phone from your drawer or from a Goodwill or something, you can Google sanitize those. Okay. You can sanitize them. They're not clean of all of Google's tracking and all of their machinations, but you can sanitize them to the point that a nation state actor or law enforcement can still determine who you are, right? They can triangulate your cell signal, even with no SIM card in it, et cetera, et cetera. They could track down accounts. But if I sanitized a device to the point that I had, say, covert identities on it or sock puppets, things like that, for doing, say, if you're doing threat hunting of some kind where you're trying to find,
So it's like obfuscation versus
anonymization versus obfuscation.
Right.
So this would be more obfuscation. You're just obfuscating your identity. You're not truly anonymous.
Yeah, putting up smoke and mirrors.
You got it. But I use these devices like when I travel for multiple things. So for starters, the first thing I'll do is on just an old Android device I've got lying around, I'll Google sanitize it, de-Google it, almost de-Google. And then I will set up the monitoring software, like the Haven app, to where it sets up motion detection. It can leave it in the hotel room and it can record while you're not there. Those kinds of things. Then when I get into the room, when I'm traveling, I will connect this device to the Wi-Fi. So bear in mind, don't even think about security as much. Do, but don't. What about those pay-per-drink internets when you're in a hotel?
Right.
I can have 5 devices. Anything beyond that's going to cost.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Well, a way to bypass that is as well as a way to control the narrative.
Right.
I'll connect that. Then the hotel has registered that MAC device, that MAC address, this device. Mm-hmm. I'll then turn the internet off on it, put it in airplane mode, whatever.
Sure.
And then I will use a travel router and I will clone that MAC address onto the travel router. And this stuff really is actually very easy. There's a YouTube video. I swear it really is.
Okay.
There's literally a web, you log into the web page you connect to the device like you'd connect to your home network.
Sure.
And there's a web interface and you just click the buttons and do the words. It's really
I can
easy.
follow a formula.
You got it.
Okay.
And then the hotel then sees this thing as that cell phone. You got it.
Okay.
Then I can connect as many devices as I want to that.
So then I'm in control. Their Wi-Fi nicely.
You got it. My own little privatized network. Even better would be if they have wired networking in the back.
Yeah.
So then I can hardwire it.
Yeah.
On the side of it, they have a little switch here. And again, from the GUI, from the graphic user interface on the web, the GUI, you can actually set what that toggle button does. Huh. And I've got mine set to one side is VPN, one side is Tor.
So dark web stuff?
You got it.
Okay.
So, and there are different use cases. That's a story for a different day, but there are absolute details and differences of when you would use VPN versus when you would use Tor.
I'm so glad you're on our team.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're assuming that doesn't mean that I could end up being the guy that turned on the whole team. And
don't even go that route.
Okay. So, but at any rate, I'll keep a couple of those around just for that. And I may or may not carry that one on a daily basis for obvious reasons. I may not need to go to Starbucks and create my own private network inside of Starbucks.
Yeah, right.
But most of the time I do have it with me. Then the Google Pixel devices, the reason I go with those in particular is because to truly de-Google a device and to have the maximum amount of mobile device security, you're going to have to use a different operating system besides any of them that are on the market. So examples are Lineage OS, Calyx, and then Graphene OS. Mm-hmm. As of right now, and this full disclaimer, this is just my 2 cents. If you're out there watching this, 1,000 of you will probably disagree with me and say Calyx or Lineage is way better. But in my opinion, for the use cases that I do, and for the amount of updates they have, for the security capabilities it has, and pound for pound, dollar for dollar, Graphene OS is king. Period. Okay. It is king. And Graphene OS focuses only on the Google Pixel devices. That way, because believe it or not, removing the concept of Google from these devices, these are actually equally, if not more, secure than the Apple devices are. You just have to get the big brother part of it off.
Have to remove Google from it.
Got to get the big brother.
Google's the problem.
You got it.
Gotcha.
So this one is just a standard Google device, and that's company owned by the company, paid for by the company, has their phone number. And the reason I carry it separate by itself is because of the possibility of lateral compromise. Mm-hmm. So like we talked about this morning, you messaged me on Signal this morning on the way here.
Yeah.
My Google, because this phone is true Google, Big Brother's watching this one, right? This is my personal.
Right.
Google saw that and said, hey, you have a message from Ryan Coe. Would you like to read it? Well, what does that tell you? Even though it's Signal, which is supposed to be secure,
right. Google's interface.
You got it. Right. Yeah. And so there's a lot of lateral compromise. You got it. And so from a lateral compromise perspective, I wanted this to be completely containerized away from anything else so that my company is never compromised by some stupid stuff I do. I don't want to be the guy that puts them in the news, And so to protect them from a cybersecurity perspective, I carry that extra phone on me, and it is a pain in the butt. Mm-hmm. This one is a Graphene OS phone, which has I've got 7 or 8 different profiles on it to where I can swipe down and pick the profile, a work profile, a Toby profile, a Toby with Google profile,
a Toby without Google profile, a Toby without closed profile for your OnlyFans, whatever it is. Yeah.
You got it for my OnlyFans page, my, and by the way, that and Patreon, and it's Graphene OS. So that is the most secure phone I own. The obvious use cases for that. Now, again, that doesn't really stop them from triangulating your position. There are still vectors that you can come in from to get who somebody is. Sure. So, but this one's closer to anonymization than obfuscation, right? Gotcha. Much closer to a true anonymization.
Which takes so much work.
It does. It really does. And there is a relatively steep initial learning curve on Graphene OS. A lot of good videos out there. Amazing website with documentation. Super easy to install it and get it set up. Super easy. But after that, there's a bit of a learning curve.
Just also like one mistake and it's compromised, though, right? I mean,
to an extent,
because if you truly are going for anonymization, one goof up, and then it resets you back. Or like sock puppets, like
you've lost it.
Yeah, right. One sock puppet mishap, and then all of a sudden they're all connected, or they're all burned. Or, I mean, you got to start over, and it takes time to develop those sock puppets. Once you start down that rabbit hole, it is It's just so much work.
It really is, and it's work to maintain it. On the bright side, though, from Graphene OS's perspective, let's say I had multiple sock puppets and one of them got burned.
Yeah, okay.
I can delete the account off of the phone.
On the Graphene.
Yeah, I can delete that profile off the phone, and then it didn't truly, unless they had somebody had tracked back the IMEI number or something hard coded to this phone. You only got the account compromised,
and then
right?
it shares the IMI, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
and then you're mapped to, like,
Then
Joe user over here was IMEI number such on cell tower such on such day.
Right,
absolutely. So, but unless it was at that level, I can just delete the profile and keep using that particular Graphene OS device.
Gotcha.
Again, Graphene OS also has a 5 or 7 year support model. So if you bought, now that the Google 9's coming out, if you bought the 8, you're going to be supported through like, what
16 or something.
2029, 2030.
Yeah, right.
And it's scaled back enough to where it's not going to slow down with age like your other phones do, like because they dial that stuff back. So, but at any rate, that's the methodology of why I carry so many phones and what the phones are for. Again, this one's just regular Google. That does lead into, okay, we all got a phone on us during the holiday travel season and during shopping for Black Friday, that kind of thing. Right. You won't be seeing this until after Black Friday. So sorry. But I wanted to, was there something else you want to talk about before we jumped into the scripture part of it?
No. So anything else you got on the tactical stuff, we'll do the tactical and all the nerdy mess, and we'll do the scripture after. Yeah.
Okay. So, well, and this is a little bit of both, though. It's a little
combined. Go for it, bud.
All right.
You got free reign. I trust you.
So I'm going to be traveling with those devices. Everybody watching this is going to be traveling with their devices. There is obviously a concern.
Christmas time, New Year's, all the holiday shopping,
and also taking that shepherd mentality too, right? So protecting your children.
Oh yeah, exactly.
And your elderly parents who may be tech-tarded, right? Yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. Is that?
It's fine. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
They being able to protect them too, being that good shepherd.
Right. Yeah.
So it's important, not just for you, but for them. So just real quick, I've got a few little agenda notes. It's not quite as much as it looks like. I promise it's not, and I'll go quick.
No, you're fine.
But, the concept, Proverbs 4:23 and everything I'm going to read is from the New International Version, only because, that seems to be the most generically accepted across most of the different Christian faiths at this moment in time. So Proverbs 4:23 says, above all else, guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it. Well, just like we guard our hearts spiritually, we also have to guard our financial, digital, and physical lives with equal amounts of tenacity.
Guard our treasure.
Guard your treasures. And where your treasures are, there your heart shall be also.
Exactly. Ties back to the heart, yeah.
And as you just mentioned, at this time of year, there's definitely an increase in scams, cyber threats, and mobile usage, right? Because you're traveling more.
Absolutely.
You just are. So, and then what I touched on, making sure to be that good steward, to be that good shepherd for those around you, those you care about, but more importantly, what God gave you. I mean, I only have these phones and this knowledge that's in my head through the grace of God and the effort where I've tried to meet him at least halfway, although most of the time it's been more like 10% of the way.
Right. Rod always says, when you say meet halfway, make sure everyone's a good judge of distance.
Yeah. So I got bad eyes. So my distance is,
his depth perception's way off.
It's way off.
No, I agree. Yeah.
So, but the point is, all the financial blessings that he's given me, the capacity to learn these things.
Pass that on. Steward your knowledge and pass it on well. Yep.
And don't spit in his face.
Yeah.
Right. Protect the things you got. Right. So talking through more specific and getting to more actual actionable items when it comes to understanding risks and seasonal vulnerabilities. So Matthew 6:21 talks about, again, for where your treasure is, there also your heart will be. There's going to be increased amounts of online shopping, and we'll talk about some ways to mitigate that and actually protect it, some mechanisms you can use to protect yourself while online shopping. There's going to be obviously travel in public and Wi-Fi usage, and Wi-Fi is a very dangerous thing. Public Wi-Fi is very dangerous. Right. The scam attempts, like we mentioned, specifically phishing, smishing, and fake charities are going to be on the increase. Smishing.
That's a new one. I've not even heard that before.
Smishing, okay. But you've experienced it. It's SMS. It's SMS.
I've done some type of smishing, I'm sure.
You have. You've definitely smished something for sure in your life. It's SMS phishing. So text message.
Okay.
Text message phishing. When you get a text message of, hey, Or I saw
UPS tracking is on the way, but delayed.
Your package,
this link.
you got it.
Gotcha.
That's smishing. Okay. That's called smishing versus, because it's SMS, versus phishing. And then, of course, the fake charity requests. So you as a Christian have the responsibility. Ephesians 6:11 talks about putting on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. You need to gird your loins, protect your heart, steel your mind, and shield yourself from the machinations of the physical and the digital world. So there's no more, I'm older, I'm tech-hearted, and I can't figure that out. That just doesn't wash anymore. Right. You need to take a minute.
Yeah.
Whether
you're going to get your lunch eaten.
You're going to get your lunch eaten. Yeah. That's right.
And Same thing spiritually.
And it's your fault.
Right? Or
because you didn't prepare.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah. Prepared versus paranoid goes back to that, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. What's driving it?
You got it. So let's talk about some actual ways, down through the rest of this dissertation or whatever. So avoiding deception. So how do you avoid smishing, phishing, those scams, digital scams or whatever? Obviously it's through education and understanding that evil mindset, right? You've got to put yourself in the mind of the
Nigerian prince who needs his $1 million.
That's exactly right. You got it.
Yeah.
A good resource for that is to Google Rachel Toback. I keep trying to say Tobeck. It's Rachel Toback, Tobac. Rachel Toback. Anything that lady puts out, whether it's a book or a video or just a promotional where she was at, HackerCon or whatever.
She's a white hat, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. Theoretically, there's no such thing. They're all gray hat, but that's a different conversation. That's a nerd conversation, for a different day. Yeah. But theoretically, you can't have gotten to be a good guy hacker unless you did some bad stuff along the line, which makes you gray.
I mean, I've worked a bunch of white hats. Yeah. I love these guys. Yeah.
But Rachel Toback her specialty is social engineering in particular.
Oh wow. Okay.
And so when she's doing content, she is super efficient and really good at it.
Okay.
Which then means anything she trains you on is good information. And hers would be on the social engineering side. Again, the smishing, the phishing, scams, that kind of thing. You need to actually take a minute and go and learn what the current criminal trends are, right? So you mentioned the Nigerian prince.
Yeah.
And you jokingly mentioned your UPS package.
Right.
Well, that's the good one right now.
Yeah.
The Nigerian prince has kind of fell to the wayside.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've all got their money. They've all,
yeah, they're good. They cash their checks. They're all right.
Yeah.
But then there's the things that you really get nerd about, like the ransomwares and the rootkits and the things like that you kind of need to be aware of.
Right.
But they do come in waves and trends, and the reason is because just like those people got to make a living.
Sure.
Right. So they have to look for what the maximum ROI, return on investment of time is. Yep. Is it, do I have more ROI on sending out an email, getting you to click on it, and it installs a rootkit that I'm then able to connect to your computer without you knowing? Is that working? Well, maybe not this week, but what if I'm sending a text message?
Or what if now AI is writing the email instead of all I love the Nigerian prince grammar. It's all backwards grammar. But now if AI writes email, it's like, wow, that actually seems legitimate.
That's exactly right.
And even some of the UPS links now actually look pretty good.
Legit.
Yeah.
And the page is so easy to design. Doing
right.
With just a basic HTML coding knowledge, you can make a page that looks literally identical to somebody else's. Super easy. I mean, like in your sleep. And I mean, you could do it. I mean, not trying to pick at you.
That's a miracle.
Because you have what's called WYSIWYG editors. What you see is what you get. A WYSIWYG editor. So you launch the software, and you what you see on the screen as you're dragging and dropping clicky links and stuff is what you get. Huh. You can pull up the UPS website and pull up a WYSIWYG editor. You can make a perfect site.
Don't clone the Apexdefensegroup website.
Just don't click on the links. Or we're going to talk about the rule of three a couple times here in a few minutes.
Okay.
And in relation to clicking on links, we're going to talk about best practices, rule of three. So click on links, but there's a way. So anyways, I kind of got sidetracked there. But understand that you got to try to also understand the threat actor's heart as well. Like where's their heart at? Where's the money at? Where's their and it's always with the money. So for that stuff, it's a good idea to go to learn what the current criminal trends are. Google, to an extent, but places like the Customer Fraud Protection Agency. I know it's a government agency, but
it's still
they
pretty
are still
good.
seeing trends from
it's
metrics.
still pretty good.
You got it. Experian.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of the Equifax, a lot of the credit card companies and stuff.
It's true.
Banks.
Because it's costing them money. So they put in good assets and
a lot.
Yeah, it goes back to Sean was talking about AI and stuff. He works banking, you know, and Sean was talking about that, all the training that they get.
Yes.
Because it costs the banks money.
Absolutely.
And that's their banks, it's their heart's treasure too. So, you know, they want to protect their treasure.
They do indeed. So going to their website and looking for trends, AARP, things like that.
Yeah,
Children's websites.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, where they're organizational websites.
AARP actually used to hire some of the best fraud analysts in the nation.
They did. Yeah. Because elderly are one of the biggest victims for sure. Yeah. So sure. And the point is, you don't have to go do it all the time, right? You don't have to constantly, but maybe on your, whatever phone you use, whatever news feeds you have.
On December 15th every year.
Yeah. There you go. You know? Just hey, what's the current trends right now? Yep. You know, and check and see. Harden your device, which we'll talk more on that in the next topic about if you don't go to full sanitization or if you don't go full graphene OS, there are still ways you can harden your device to add that layered concentric circles of protection like you have in physical security. Right?
Okay, right, yeah.
Same concept. We'll talk more on that in a minute. But that's definitely one of the things you got to do.
Huh, okay.
Practice good situational awareness. Right?
That's key.
I know, yeah, that's keep your head on a swivel or whatever. But not, you know, people say keep your head on your swivel, but there's actually literally a physical science to it,
right?
A biometric science to it. And so it's probably a good idea to take a class from like Emergence, right? Yusuf Badu or Ryan, you know, or me. I do offer a situational awareness. I'm actually one of the certified instructors for.
And ours is different, you know.
It is.
And I love yours. And I think he loves mine.
Oh, no, I do. I do. His is more physical. Mine's like 0.5. His is like version 1 and version 2. Mine's like 0.5.
Well, no, but I love yours because it covers a lot more of like the mental and the phones and mine's very physical, like you said. It's very body language and all that. And so when you actually mesh those two together, it's actually pretty banging. Yeah, for exactly. Sure. Yeah.
And like when you're doing yours, you're looking like symmetry versus asymmetry in the clothing and things like that. Yeah. So I don't talk about that stuff. I talk about more, you know, the physical cues or biometric cues or
the social. Yeah.
Social cues. You got it. So yeah, but do that. Take some actual real training on situational awareness from a reputable source, preferably Ryan
or Toby.
But just saying. So let's talk for a second about strengthening your device. Whatever device you use, and these concepts apply. I tried to make them as generic as possible to apply to those of you Apple users out there.
Apple for the win.
Apple for the win. You got it. And again, just because I don't use it, don't mean I'm not a fan, right? They are amazing devices. I just had somebody asking me yesterday if I could brute force an Apple phone. And I was like, yeah, no.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
I'm not. You know, there are government agencies out there that have machines that can do so, and there are mechanisms to do so, but I can't afford it. You know,
right?
I'm not that guy. So again, Ecclesiastes 7:12 talks about wisdom is a shelter, just as money is a shelter. But the advantage of knowledge is this: wisdom preserves those who have it. So remember the rule of 3. For everything we talk about from this point forward, try to remember the rule of 3. And rule 3, I preach this in a lot of different classes.
I do too. Yeah,
a lot of different aspects. You know, there's a reason it's 911. Tap, rack, bang. Stop, drop, roll.
Right.
There's a reason for that. There's a reason that in martial arts or self-defense, if a technique gets above 3 to 5 moves,
right,
you're probably not going to be able to pull it off.
100%. Yeah. 3 is what our learning curve on self-defense. Yeah, it's what we see the best. Yeah.
Always. And so remember that rule of 3 as we talk through a lot of these things. You're going to hear me mention patterns that sound like they're 3 deep or is 3 wide, whatever the case may be. And that's, you know, where this applies. So for example, let's just take Google searches. For starters, you shouldn't use Google. We'll talk about that in the next bullet point. As infrequently as possible.
I've already messed up.
Yeah. Bless your heart. Everybody does. That's okay. Because Google's king. But we'll talk about that in a second. Google is king from their algorithms and what they have. They are king. But there's a way to touch Google without touching Google.
Okay.
Is that?
Yeah.
No,
okay.
Gotcha.
Twiddling,
whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say I searched current criminal, or no, let's be a little more specific. Let's say I searched reviews on the Hodoofi Faraday bags.
Okay.
And which I have one out on Gear Report. I'm also a reviewer for gearreport.com. It's gear-report.com. And let's say you had a list of results and all of them went to gearreport.com. don't just automatically click on the top one.
That's what I do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's right. That's terrible. So, or Wells Fargo, for example. I wanted to go to my Zelle account, right? Don't just automatically click at the top.
Because usually it's ads, right? Because if I even go to like North American Rescue and I type that in Google, the first couple are sponsored. It would take like My Medic, Rescue Essentials, and then there's North American Rescue.
You got it. And not only that, the big dogs like Wells Fargo, this wouldn't happen, but take GearReport.com, for example.
Okay.
I, as a malicious threat actor, could actually, like we talked about, clone the webpage to an extent or do whatever. I can actually, using algorithms, drive that search engine optimization to push those results to the top of Google, what Google offers to people, to where it's that suggested site at the top, and it's not even a real site, right? Or it's my site, and I've hijacked GearReport.com.
Right.
Okay. So, and then of course there's paying. I could pay for advertising for Google to push it up to the top.
Right.
So just because you see it at the top doesn't mean it's the right answer. And also think about this too. So, and we'll talk about this more when we talk about the spam calls and the phishing and the smishing and stuff. But think about the concept of why do you have to click on the first one anyways? Go 2 or 3, like that rule of 3, to the third one down, click on that, and then work your way back up, right? So if I clicked on the About Us page, then I just click home once I'm there. Why do you feel the need to have to go?
Because we live in a microwave society of comfort and convenience.
You got it.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking 2 steps ahead and being 3 steps deep and then going back up, right? Yeah. So again, don't start at the top. Go at least 2 or 3 links down. Don't start at the top of the page. Don't just land on that hyperlink and grab it and go to that page. Go somewhere on the site that's not normal and then work your way back up. And then the other rules, so not only are we talking 3 deep on the page, 3 deep inside the website, we're also talking 3 actions, right? So the third action is do the mouse hover, and look at the link. What I mean by that is any hyperlink anywhere ever, even if it's in a document or a PDF file, if you just hover the mouse over it for a second, and then look down somewhere, like if it's Adobe Acrobat versus Microsoft Edge versus Chrome. Look down, and you can move it on and off, and you'll see this hyperlink appear and disappear. Read that. And you joked about the AI, Nigerian prince.
Right. Yeah.
Those fake hyperlinks, if you're really thinking about it, there's going to be a tail of some kind.
Right.
Like, for example, it may say Yahoo's with an S on the end.
Right.
Or it may say, ebz.439.x.7.yahoo.com.page.scan.track package.
Right.
Just because Yahoo's in there somewhere.
Right.
It's not the top level domain, the TLD.
Yeah.
The top level domain is not Yahoo. Right. So that third layer of protection, even though I've scrolled to the About Us page, I'm going to hover over it and make sure, is it Wells Fargo top level domain?
Yeah.
Then the About Us, whatever.
It's like our phishing emails for Facebook. Your event has been flagged as malicious, and we get those. And
all the time.
Facebook, of course, takes our events down all the time. Yeah. But I get the email. Facebook has tagged your event as against community standards. Yes. Please click on, and then I'll just hover over the email, and the email's like, instead of support@facebook.com, it's 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 at NG 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 Facebook 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 at Microsoft or whatever, it's,
and it just looks suspicious. If you really put one thought to it, it looks suspicious.
Right. If you don't go, oh yeah, it makes sense to click it instantly. Yeah.
I know I had that gun thing, and Facebook don't like gun
100%.
things. Yeah,
right.
Let me just click on that and get it back up.
Yep.
So let's talk for a second about the search engine things. So you got to use a search engine these days. That's just all there is to it. And there are classes offered that teach when to use or when to search the top of the web versus when to search deep web versus when to search dark web, right? And those are 3 different concepts. But just from a generic standpoint, from an everyday use, there's only a few actual search engines, believe it or not, and then everybody else uses those search engines from them. So nice. Like Bing is standalone, Google is standalone, but like Yandex is standalone. But most of the other search providers
like Yahoo or something.
Yeah, will broker a connection over to Google and pull the information back.
Okay.
So I strongly suggest that you go into whatever browser you have and set your default search engine to one of 2. And it's just according to how secure and how really deep you want to go down the rabbit hole. But DuckDuckGo, you've seen the commercials on TV. Huh. DuckDuckGo brokers a connection over to Google and pulls it back. Now, to be clear, they've started advertising on TV. There's still concerns where again from lateral connections of he came from this IP address, he searched this, it went over to Google, right? There's still that aspect of it. So DuckDuckGo isn't as untrustworthy at data mining and such as say Google, but they're still not as much as say StartPage, which I want to talk about next. StartPage is a StartPage.com is a search engine that also brokers a connection to Google. Multiple different ways. It pulls the results and displays them for you without giving off your identity per se. You can go into StartPage though. The beauty of it is you can go into usually the top right. There'll be a settings button, and you can click that settings, and it's common sense settings. It's, do you want your searches to originate from the United States or Europe?
Interesting. Okay.
Understanding Europe's slower.
Sure.
Right. But that does give you, if it's brokering a connection through something like Switzerland, where we do not have laws in place to be able to subpoena that information.
Well, Russia, for instance. Yeah. Russia's a good one.
Of course, Russia's going to mine your information for themselves.
100%. Yeah.
China too. But countries like Switzerland, things like that.
Very third party.
You got it. Very third party. You can change those settings, and you can set like the parental settings on where I want to see unsafe suggestions or I don't, like if it's on a shared computer for your children. And, just other connections, the fastest connections, where do you want it to pull from? Do you want to see adult content? How many results do you want to see on the page? 20, 100, whatever. You set all that. What color do you want the page to be? You set all that up one time and it'll give you a hyperlink, and you can set that hyperlink as your home page.
Default browser.
You got it.
Wow, okay,
or set it as your default search engine, that kind of thing. Once you make a search inside a StartPage, again, so mine personally is set to go through Europe and come back and do all this other kind of stuff. Even further, every single link has the link and the information just like you see in Google. Then right below it is a little hyperlink it's identical on every single one of them that basically says, you want to go see this in anonymous mode? And if you click on that, it then does one layer deeper and brokers a connection.
So all the cookies and tracking and
DNS tracking, so you got it, all of it.
It's funny because you gave me a bag, right? Blackout bag.
Merry Christmas and happy birthday.
Yep. As soon as I pulled out my phone, first thing I clicked on, had a Facebook notification, clicked on Facebook, the first ad is the blackout bag.
Because it's listening.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
So it's protecting you from stuff like that. Yeah.
It is listening.
Because I worry about, Big Brother is one thing, but I don't really do anything that breaks laws. I hate all of my stuff being sold.
Yeah.
Because now I'm just a disposable commercial asset.
Absolutely.
That's what I hate.
Well, plus, I mean, think about it. I mean, if set aside any of the potential, conspiracy theories or whatever. I mean, what if, we talked about Faraday bags there for a minute, and it's like, I don't care to talk about it again for the next 6 months. I don't want to see.
Exactly.
I want to see other stuff.
Yeah. We talk protein shakes or whatever, and it's all I see is protein shakes.
How dare you tell me what I need to see?
Exactly.
Who are you?
Exactly. And that's what we've turned into.
Absolutely.
We are being spoon-fed everything in front of us because what we see is what we desire.
That's right. And you are the product. So when it's free, you are the product.
My life is being sold at my expense, and that's what I don't like.
They're making good money off of it. So.
Yeah, they are. The government is too.
They do. But so I suggest as many times as you can, use startpage.com.
Okay.
And again, I also want to do a quick disclaimer here. Everything I'm telling you today, Graphene OS, Faraday bags, startpage.com, whatever, that's good today.
Could change next year.
Tech has a shelf life for sure. For sure has a shelf life. And so, do your due diligence. Keep up with the trends as they are going on in the industry. Great example is Telegram.
Yeah.
They just got spanked in the news big time a couple months ago. Everybody's, Telegram. Again, there's no anonymization with Telegram. It's obfuscation.
Right.
And it's also a scary lateral obfuscation because in order for me to add you, it's got your cell phone number.
Contact information, yep.
Then if I'm in Ryan's phone, suddenly it spreads out from there, right?
Yep.
I could be as safe as possible, but Ryan's phone got compromised and it was a lateral jump over. So, but the point is they got spanked. So now, I've not been a fan of Telegram for many years, but Telegram now is just absolutely a no-no. Don't even think about it.
Right.
Don't even think about it.
Right.
But at any rate, I digress. Point is, set up startpage.com, start using it.
Good passwords.
Absolutely. We'll talk more about that when we get to the actual hardening of the physical device itself.
Okay.
When we talk about password managers and things like that. Obviously, don't click on unfamiliar links. Question the legitimacy of everything. Right? Somebody says Nigerian prince. Somebody calls you, texts you, messages you.
Yeah.
Your check just bounced. Cool. Let me get your name, the incident number, and information. Then I'm going to hang up. You tell me everything I need to know, because it could be somebody calling you and they get commission off of assistance or get commission off of a sale.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It could be legit. No problem. Let me make sure you get credit for it, but I want to take down your information. Then we're going to hang up, and I'm going to Google the right phone number, look 2 or 3 down, find the right one, and I'm going to call them, and we're going to start this transaction from the top level of that particular company. If they push back, that's a flag, right? There's one of the key things that Rachel Toback talks about is that sense of urgency,
right?
Oh no,
absolutely.
right now, my kids are starving. Oh my God, now, horse pucky. Right. There is never, and when we talk about debit card and credit cards here in a minute,
absolutely.
Even financially, if you're doing it right, there is never a real time desire or need that is that urgent that you can't take a minute and go back to the source. From the source that you initiated and work your way back down to that incident that's occurring. Okay. So travel-specific security, let's talk about that before we talk about hardening device, because you want to harden your devices before you travel. We talked about the stuff I have in place before I travel. So Proverbs 21:31 talks about the horse is made ready for the day of battle, but victory rests in the Lord, right? So unfortunately, though, prayer is not a plan when it comes to digital technology, right? I mean, God will leave you to your own machinations and devices.
Your own devices.
Yeah, your own devices. Huh? See? Oh my God, see what you did there. And he's not going to protect you from your own stupidity.
Sure.
For things like that.
To a degree, yeah.
To a degree, yeah. Like, you were just stupid. Sorry, dude.
He can redeem it, but we meddle in it.
You're gonna pay the price between now and then.
Yeah.
For sure. So for starters, let's talk about the VPN, the Tor thing real quick. Again, I don't want to go, these are topics that I go over in class that you can get pretty deep down the rabbit hole. But as often as possible, avoid using public Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Often as possible.
I'm bad about that.
Well, me too, but I use VPN or Tor.
I know you use layers of protection.
I use layers, concentric layers of protection that does protect me. Yeah. So at a high level, the different concepts between VPN and Tor are VPN creates a tunnel. It's a virtual private network between
PVC
you
pipe.
and somewhere else.
Yeah.
PVC pipe. Picture looking down a PVC pipe. So the world can still see you're connected from point A to point B, but they can't see what's inside the tube. You got it. And that's only if it's a reputable provider. Proton. It's only if it's a reputable VPN provider. Okay. When you look at like NordVPN, aren't they a pretty big corporate conglomerate that's all here in the United States? So, what are they?
Right.
So, and then Tor is the Onion network or the Tor network. That's the dark web, so to speak. Tor has different things like DNS anonymization that's in place that's better. It still has the end-to-end encryption and encapsulated just like VPN does, but it also adds the ability for changing entry and exit nodes, right? So it'll pop in over here in this server, then it'll bounce over to Canada, and then it'll go over here and it'll go over here, and then like every 2 minutes it'll switch to a different entry and exit node and switch to a different entry and exit node. Where VPN maintains certain specific servers around the world with a publicly facing IP address, and once you've connected, like if I connect through Virginia IL3 or something like that, server IL3, I've got the same IP address and all my traffic's going through there the whole day while I'm connected, right? So
it's like if I go up to the bank to make a deposit, not mobile, but outside bank teller, and it's me and the bank teller through the glass, and I put my stuff in the tube and it shoots up and goes to her. She can see and I can see each other, and everyone can see that we're doing business. But then the opposite would be if there's 4 bank tellers and 4 people in the car, and I sit there and put myself in the tube, and then we switch places, and they switch places, then I send it, and we're always just switching places. Okay.
You got it. That's the big difference. That's a good illustration. Very good illustration. And you can always see the tubes, right? You can still see the tubes.
But who's doing the businesses a little more?
On which end, you got it. Okay. And nobody can see what's in them, so it's all still encrypted. That's a very good acronym, or a very good example. Very good. I like that one. From the VPN perspective and from the Tor perspective, Proton does offer a suite of products similar to Microsoft Office. They've got their own documents. They've got a storage drive. They've got the VPN. They've got They're working on getting a Bitcoin capable, like a digital wallet, and so on and so forth. They offer a free version, and it's equally as safe as the paid version.
Okay.
Guaranteed. However, obviously, there's limitations on the number of devices you can install it on. There's limitations for the speed. They're going to throttle you before they would throttle somebody like me that pays for an account every year. And that's okay, right? To start with, just to learn how to use Proton. But long term, it's like, I don't want to say a price, $30, $60 a year, something like that. It's
affordable.
It's very affordable.
Okay.
To be able to get a paid suite, and then you like quadruple your storage and blah, blah, blah. Now, again, bearing in mind, separate conversation for a different day, it's still attached to you, right? So unless you obfuscate
attach
it
it to
somehow,
sock puppets and do all that stuff. Okay.
and then you have those considerations. But let's just say it's just your daily driver phone, right? So go get Proton. From a Tor perspective, there's two concepts or two ways to touch Tor. One of them is to use a browser, Tor browser, right? Everybody's heard of that. Or to use Brave browser, which is a Chrome-based or Chromium-based browser on your laptops and desktops, not on your phone so much. It's on there, but it doesn't have the Tor capability. And that browser or that browser capability can connect to Tor. So like I've got a Brave browser pulled up at all times on my laptop, and if I want to hit Tor for something, I just pop a new window with Tor, like you would pop a new incognito window. Same, it's just nothing fancy.
It sounds fancy. I'm lost already.
Okay. Go
ahead.
Well, I mean,
you're good.
Yeah, you've used incognito windows, right? Private windows.
I think so.
Okay. Top right, there's always a little hamburger menu. You click on it, and it's going to say open new window, close, this, that, the other. One of the options is almost always open incognito mode or open private browsing or open this or open that. Brave.
Oh, like if I'm going to go look at something holiday shopping and I don't want a million ads for mom's Christmas present that I'm looking for. Yeah, okay.
You don't want mom to see that you were looking for that Christmas present. Or you don't want one tab and the cookies from one tab to talk to the next tab. Yeah, all of a sudden, next time she goes to Amazon, she's seeing that.
Right.
That particular game. Why am I seeing this?
I just do it for the ads. I hate being spoon-fed content.
Perfect use. Yeah. So that's one way of accessing Tor is through a dedicated browser or through the capability from a browser.
Okay.
The other way is a full device, similar to a full device protection with VPN or antivirus or whatever. And on a mobile device, the current best use case would be Orbot, O-R-B-O-T. So if you install Orbot and you launch it, then your whole phone is protected no matter what you're doing in it, whether it's Facebook app or whether it's the Safari browser, whatever the case may be. The whole phone's protected by Orbot running it through the Tor network. Now, again, bearing in mind, it's going to change things slightly. So, for example, it's going to be slightly slower because you're brokering connections through Tor. Right. You're going to hit more of those CAPTCHAs where they're stopping you and saying, is this a bicycle? Or, oh, my God. It's so annoying.
See, I wouldn't do it just for those reasons right there.
But then you're protecting the whole device.
Right.
And then you can turn it on and off at will.
So that if I Google protein bars, then I'm not getting Facebook ads for protein bars the next 15 years.
You got it. Okay. Or if you access if you access Facebook, or let's say a shopping app, right? So a lot
Amazon
of companies, let's say I'm accessing the Lowe's app and I'm inside of Lowe's. It's not going to know you're inside of Lowe's. It's going to think you're in Topeka, Kansas or something. It's not going to know.
Oh, nice.
And so it's not going to be location specific crap that you have to deal with. There's like 1,000 different reasons. But the Orbot protects the whole phone holistically, and you can turn it on and off at will, obviously. And if you're having problems connecting, it's probably Orbot, right? So kill it and do what you got to do. But so that's a good tip. Obviously, keep your physical devices constantly under your supervision.
100%. Especially in foreign countries. Whew.
You got it. And absolutely. Yeah. And like consider Faraday bags and when you would need them. Yeah. Consider it. I'm not saying to be so paranoid that you carry. Obviously, I do. We didn't get
in my truck. There's always Faraday.
Yeah, bags. We didn't get into a full EDC of what's in my backpack, right? For obvious reasons, that'd take probably an hour by itself.
Right.
But there's Faraday bags in there, different sizes, different qualities.
Mine too. Yep.
Yeah, different qualities for different use cases. Yep. Hodufi or Hodufi, I don't know how you say it. They make one. It's like you get 5 bags for like $25. Yeah. And I would trust them for like for example, my company phone, right? If I knew I was going to be putting it, let's say you're going into a secure room, which this has happened,
like a skiff room, yeah,
you got it. Yeah. And I'm going to be leaving it outside that room because you don't want to pick up auditory and video and stuff. Yeah, I would trust it for something like that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Medium level,
yep. You got it.
Yep.
Medium to low, you got it. But consider just having some of those available, and you don't have to break the bank. The ones I bought for you. The Mission Darkness I bought for you for your.
Yep.
I mean, I think you can get those for like $25.
Or the blackouts or the silence or any of them. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, silence are a little more expensive
Yeah,
than the blackout or the Go Dark or the Mission Darkness, and that would probably be the big four. Silent.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
Silent is SLNT, by the way. Yeah. Anyways, consider that. Be diligent about your planning ahead of time. Okay. Mm-hmm. Obviously, do your research before you go somewhere, understanding the criminal element there, what the trends are, what the potential threat vectors are once you get there, or attack vectors. Your OSINT work, you got it. Do that stuff ahead of time. But consider when you walk into a place, okay, you're not going to walk in with a Faraday bag. You're just not. Right? I mean, if you do, then you're more paranoid than me. You know, you're next level, and I'm proud of you, but I can't do it because I mean, because once you open it, you're compromised anyways, right? As soon as I open it, you're back to connecting to the world. But consider the physical device itself, and the reason I had these out was in case we did do some demos. NFC, Bluetooth, the radio signal, your Wi-Fi radio signal, those kinds of things, cellular, they're always doing something.
Absolutely.
Your Wi-Fi signal is always sending a probe or a broadcast probe to see, hey, is there a network out there?
Facial recognition is always doing IR beacons.
Always.
We pick it up under nods from 300 yards away. I mean,
I helped design a security solution or the operationalization of a security solution for a dwell time recognition software where the cameras just point at you and they see you and how long did you dwell in front of a product and what do we do with those metrics and things. And that's just like super easy, low level stuff. Imagine if you were really focused and intent to find out some information, what you could do with those capabilities. Yeah. So, but the point is your phone is always talking to something somewhere, somehow. Mm-hmm. And those can be maliciously used.
Right.
So,
like in an airport overseas.
Oh yeah. Well, anywhere. Let's say I walked by you and I skimmed your RFID, your like if you used your phone. Yeah.
Analog watch.
Yep. You got it.
Smartwatches is a good example.
Smartwatches. Yep. What if you used it to scan, and you had your
100%
credit card on there?
Yep. Can
I pull that from your NFC or your RFID?
Right.
Yep. So where I'm going with that is take your device, and every device is slightly different, and even every Android is slightly different. But somewhere on your quick launch settings, where it's like airplane mode, toggle on, flashlight toggle on and off, add the buttons that manually control Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, NFC, those kinds of things. Yeah. Toggle them on and off. I mean, to be honest, I use my NFC quite a bit. Have you ever used your NFC?
A couple of times, but not often.
Turned off?
Yeah.
I mean, we have a button there
right.
that's quick access where you can turn it off if you need to. Like if somebody's got a business card, NFC business card, or if you're doing a dead drop, like just a black disc.
That's what I was about to say.
Dead drops.
Twice in my life. Yeah, for
dead
sure.
Drops. You got it.
Exactly.
So, but turn it on for that and then turn it back off.
I know. Yeah.
Why even allow that attack vector to exist if you're not using it every day?
Bluetooth. Why leave that gate open? Guard. Yeah.
You got it. Why?
Yeah. It's a Trojan horse.
You got it. Bluetooth. If you don't use a Bluetooth watch in your case, and you don't use earbuds that are Bluetooth, why is your Bluetooth on?
Right. Mine's off unless I connect to something. And I do cut it on, manually cut it on, cut it off. My NFC is off too.
Yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I do keep my Bluetooth on for different reasons, but I also have layers of protection.
Connect to truck, connect to earbuds, connect to,
And I cut mine on. Connected. And by the way, side squirrel tip here, if you can get a phone with 3.5 millimeter audio jack, you get better sound quality. Right? So 3.5 is king, and you don't have to worry about the Bluetooth thing. But where I'm going with that is keep that stuff turned off.
Right.
So, I mean, there's even, and even don't take it to the malicious threat actor level. Take it to the annoying advertising.
Absolutely.
If I'm in Harbor Freight and they have Bluetooth readers, proximity readers.
And they do.
All of a sudden your phone starts showing you ads for Harbor Freight, what sales are going on.
Yeah.
That's none of your business. I mean, if I wanted to know that, I'm going to go look.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'm not one of those people that I appreciate the heads up for you trying to tell me to buy something.
Yeah, don't sell me a product I don't want.
I don't want to know it. Right. So you take it again down from that paranoid or that security level of just nuisance, right? Put those toggles on there and keep those turned off unless you absolutely need to. And while we're talking about it, what does your mom and dad's device look like? What does your kid's device look like? Mm-hmm. Have you took just a minute to explain to them and check their device? And have you took that time and explain to them the why and what they'd have to do to fix it? Like, oh, right, okay, Grandma, I know you don't use NFC like ever. All you ever do is a phone, and you never use Bluetooth. But if you ever did, here's the button. Here's the button to turn it back on. Take your time. Be that good steward. We're getting close to the end, so I'm sorry. I know I'm rambling here. So online security, let's talk about that for a second. So Proverbs 22:3 talks about the prudent see danger ahead of time and take refuge, but the simple keep going and they pay the penalty. You got to trust God to be a wise. You got to trust God, right? But you have to be a wise steward of everything He's given to you. You do need to embrace that spirit of giving, especially now during the holiday season and with especially everything that's going on around the world. You do need to do that, but you have to be very careful when you're giving that money of who you're giving it to and how, right? So give them money, please. Give to Hurricane Helene people. I saw on the news past couple of days, it's snowing up there, dude.
Yeah.
They don't have homes.
I did see one of the kids. It was a young child. FEMA repoed their trailer, their RV. They went to a tent, and one of the kids just died of hypothermia. Yeah,
that's going to be a nightmare for the media, and it's just a nightmare in reality.
It's terrible for the family. No, it's a lose. No one wins.
It is absolutely
no one
a
wins.
lose.
Yeah.
From a personal perspective, and this is just one of my pet peeves. I mean, so for starters, yes, absolutely, please be giving and helping people, especially this year. This year is getting so weird, and hopefully things are going to get better now. This is wood, I'm assuming. Knock on wood. But regardless, you should always be helping people. But from a personal pet peeve perspective, when I walk into a retailer like Big Lots or whatever, and there's that thing on there that says, "Hey, do you want to give $1 to Salvation Army or Red Cross?" I tell them no.
Yeah, I do too. I
tell them no. And the reason, like, everybody's like, "Oh my God, you're a terrible person." Dude, I give a lot of money every year. And like, I've already gotten an angel tree this year for a dedicated child that I've already bought for. I give a lot of money every year to charities, but I give it to the charities I want to.
Right.
The connection is not brokered through some big company who's using it as a tax deduction.
Correct.
And as an advertising ploy to further their agenda.
Right.
I choose where my money goes.
Yeah.
So that's just a pet peeve.
Yeah.
But consider that. There's no reason to feel guilty for denying that roundup, to help somebody.
Yeah, or it's cash in a plastic bucket. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's going to be based on the store manager.
Yeah. I can tell you some gator stories about that. We won't talk about that on the podcast, but there's definitely some gator stories about those kinds of things. Yeah. So, anyways, God, I'm a terrible person. So, but then when you make the conscious decision to pay someone, I'm going to give this Angel Tree, American Red Cross. I'm going to give them
$5 to UNICEF.
$5 to UNICEF or whatever. I want to talk for a second about credit cards, debit cards, and privacy.com.
Okay.
A debit card, if you are compromised, you will get your money back. But the money's gone until you do.
Right. And it's at the bank's discretion now.
And it's at the bank's discretion.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
They
investigate it all. Yeah.
They investigate it, and so it's going to take time. So what if it took them like 3 months to investigate it, and all that money somebody stole from you is gone for 3 months?
Now, that just happened on mine. It was like $1,100 online gambling site, and they actually traced it back. My debit card was compromised through the 511 website.
Oh, wow.
And 511 sent out a thing and actually talked to my bank, but 511 sent out I'm sure most of y'all, if you bought something from 511 in July, they sent out a mailer to everyone that bought from 511 July and said, we were compromised and they got debit card info. And if you were one of these, please, we contacted your bank or have your bank contact us. And that is actually truly how my debit card, because I'm very careful, compromised through 511.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And see, and you eventually got your money back, right?
Yep. $1,100 back from online
How long
gambling.
did it take you to get the money back?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. That's not bad.
Yeah, but still,
I've seen horror stories where it's months.
I mean, $1,100 2 weeks is a lot. It's a whole lot of money.
Kill me.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah,
but I'm saying, at least you can call your debtors and say, I'm going to be a little late.
Yeah.
But what if it's months and you don't know?
I know. Apexdefense does not pay a lot, so it's like $1,100 is a lot. Yeah.
No, they don't pay much.
Shut up, Toby.
So, but a credit card though,
right.
If you use a credit card,
yeah.
the money's refunded immediately pending the results of the investigation.
Right.
So what I do is I have a credit card that is set to auto draft from my checking account 100% every single month.
I do too. Oh yeah, my Apple Card. Whatever. Yep, that's all the same. Yep. I agree.
So I use it as though it's my debit card, and I always have that extra layer of protection to where in real time I can get whatever money back from the compromise.
That's why I started doing. Yeah,
you got it, and that is the only way to roll. If you're for gas stations, whatever, even if it's a prepaid credit card,
right? But I didn't on the 511 website. It's just one of those things. Yeah.
Sure, you just trusted they would have protections in place, and I got news for you, they do.
Yeah.
But there are people who spend all day, every day, 50, 60 hours a week figuring out ways around that. There are people who do it for a living. There are nation state, we see there are nation state actors. We see people get up at 5, 6, 7 in the morning, our time or whatever. They go in, drinking their coffee. They're hacking and social engineering all day. There's like whole rooms, like offices with cubicles and everything. There are 100%. Countries that's what they do for a living. And so to compromise 511, they just got to get one. They only got to succeed once.
That's it.
Cybersecurity professionals have to succeed all day, every day, 24/7, 365, 1,000 years in a row.
Yep.
One time. So, but at any rate, I suggest doing that. Setting up your debit card. Your daily driver should be a credit card, not a debit card. And just set it up to pay off 100%. Don't treat it like a true credit card, where it's accruing interest and stuff. Right. Set it up to pay off. Literally treat it just like you do your debit card.
But it takes discipline on a budget.
It takes discipline on a budget.
And that's what most people don't have.
It does. And another further layer of protection I suggest to people is privacy.com, privacy.com. It's exactly what it sounds like. Set up an account with them, and you do map it to your real checking account, by the way. You can't map it to a credit card. But you then go to privacy.com, and if the free account, you get like 30 cards a month, and nobody does that. You can create a virtual debit card or credit card, a virtual debit card, and you can assign parameters to it. And what I mean by that is, for example, I have one for my Disney subscription, and I've got it set to where it can only draft $120 a month or whatever, $150 a month. That's it. Or I can set it to, I'm going to make this one-time purchase at 511, and so there's no limit, but it's only one-time use. And I can go in and use that, and it tracks just like a real debit card on the websites. No problems at all. Now, my only word of caution with privacy.com is just like with your covert identities or your sock puppets. You do need to set it up and develop a history ahead of time before you get to using it heavy, because privacy.com may flag and go, hey, this is sus. This is sus. He just created one, and all of a sudden he's dropping $1,000 purchase. That's sus. So go ahead and go in and set your privacy.com up.
So be preparing early in advance.
And start using it, a $40 purchase here, $50 there. But I have most of my major recurring bills through either the credit card or through privacy.com. And I have the parameters of said bill on there. So like let's say your insurance is $150 every month. I will set the parameter that it can never draw more than once a month above $200. So, and it also gives you a further layer of obfuscation. So in the event 511 was compromised, had you have used a privacy.com card, which is treated like a real debit card, and it comes out of your bank account in real time. It's not like a credit card where it's once a month. They couldn't have found out it was Ryan. There's literally no way. A government with a subpoena and a bunch of paperwork and hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of lawyer work can get it from privacy.com, but your average hacker cannot. So even if they compromised and got a one-time, we got $150 and now it's being declined, they're still not going to know it came from Ryan. So I'm a strong proponent of that one and use the credit card and the privacy.com even for your giving. Like, set up a if you want to give it cash instead of using a credit card, or you don't have the credit to get a good credit card, it's fine. Do the privacy.com thing, map it to your checking account, and then set an American Red Cross to where one time or once a year or once a month, if it's more than this, block it, right? And again, you can create up to like 30 cards a month for free. And then there's paid versions that are like $10, $12 a month or something, but most of us would never need that. So huge fan of that. So when it comes to that spirit of giving, doing that for sure. Where to get to? There we go. So last page. We're on the downside. Promise, guys. We're on the downside. Other side. That's even better.
There's your last page.
Right? This is the last page. So Matthew 24:14. So we've talked about hardening your device. We've talked about some good ideas physically that you can do today, toggling things on and off, setting up proper financial layers of protection. We've talked about proper online surfing and safe online surfing. We've talked about situational awareness. We've talked about the actual physical implementation of keeping yourself as safe as you possibly can. We've given a lot of really good, or hopefully really good and beneficial real world examples of how to do that. But let's talk now for a second about that Christian mindset. I'm going to close on the Christian mindset and then kind of pull it all back together of how you can as a Christian. So, and again, this applies to all faiths, right? Not just Christianity. This applies to anyone who has a spirit of discernment and a spirit of giving and a spirit of care, a shepherd, right? Anybody that lives on this planet, if you're just a good human being. So Matthew 24:14 talks about, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. Matthew 5:14-16 talks about you being the light of the world, a town built on a hill, and it cannot be hidden. So we always need to be being that shepherd. We do need to be giving in those holiday seasons.
Yep.
We need to be witnessing to others and talking about
standing in the gap, interceding prayer, all those things.
You got it. Where I'm going with that, though, is I want you to consider in this digital age how it's so toxic. You know, and we can debate toxic masculinity all day long. I guarantee you I'm toxically masculine. But you cannot debate cyberbullying. You cannot debate the evils that are out there in the dark corners of the web.
Yeah.
Our propensity is to jump out and to witness to people and to try to stop them and to try to save them and to try to do this and to preach that good news of the kingdom and to be that beacon on the hill and go team. That's not always the right approach, right? Particularly these days with the way people are looking at things. So you need to be, and I can't tell you how to do this. This is one of those things where I'm just kind of offering my 2 cents here and saying you need to be a little diligent and do your homework and try to learn and figure out the best way to do this. Always represent coming from a place of love and always put yourself in that other person's shoes.
Empathy.
Yeah. Even if that means not talking about, like, what if you're talking to somebody who doesn't believe in the Bible?
Right. Yeah. And I think no one's ever, in my opinion, repented of their sins or changed behavior because they're being told it's bad.
Yeah.
It's a heart change. And usually they have to see something different. That's why Jesus, one of his most phrases he said most often was come and see, right? It was one of those where telling versus showing.
Yes.
I miss show and tell. If I told you about my Mark 12, but then I pull it out and you shoot a group with it, or you know what, I could sit there and tell you one of my favorite rifles is like a $1,200 rifle that I built. It's an Anderson lower and like the cheapest rail. It was just, but I put a good barrel in it and a good trigger in it.
Yeah.
And it's got like $149 scope on it. But that rifle shoots 1/2-inch groups every day. Yeah. I mean, no matter, and then just shoots. But if I'm like, if I tell you about that rifle, you'd be like, that's a piece of junk. Piece of junk. Yeah. It's just as good, right? The whole just as good.
Yeah, yeah.
But then when you shoot it and you go, that's one of the sweetest, smoothest shooting rifles, and you see the group.
Yeah.
And then so it's a come and see where if we live it rather than tell it, then we're living love and we're living that way. I do agree with you.
Absolutely. And while you're living it, try to put yourself in the situation of that other person. You got to answer for that to the boss on the last day, right? Mm-hmm. And if you're telling the boss, when you're standing in front of him, what are they going to say? Like, well, you remember that one time when you were online and I get that you were being diligent for me, right? And you were trying to tell them, that fornication is bad, or right, don't go look at porn, or whatever. I get that, but do you know that behind closed doors, this is the effect it had? Right? It's
bringing guilt, shame, and condemnation versus love and truth and change.
Yeah. Focus on those topics and try to make them, and this is just my 2 cents, right? Take it with a grain of salt.
For the holiday, for the Christmas dinners, what you're talking about.
Make it as neutral and religiously neutral. What's the word when you
see? I don't. My grandfather always said, "You own a business. You never talk about religion or politics."
Yes.
What do we talk about more than anything else?
And politics.
Religion and politics.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, but I don't think that anyone should shove beliefs down your throat.
Yes.
But I also want to say, I am living the change that I always wanted, and this is how.
Yes, and in my perspective, the way to do that, and this is turkey talk when you're sitting around the table at Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner, you can have that exact same conversation from a multifaceted approach. So, for example, you can say, here's my thoughts on it. Like, let's take sloth. right? Or laziness, right? Let's take laziness as an example, right? So I think, you can approach it from the topic of, from an industrious perspective. I think
daily
we can all
disciplines.
agree, right, that daily disciplines, proper management, making the bed first thing in the morning, whatever. And you can approach it not only from a secular standpoint, and then say, and then I as a Christian, blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
You can also approach it from the other, like, I know that, for example, the Buddhists believe that you should, spend X amount of time every day doing this or that.
Meditation.
Or, meditation. There's the Zen garden concept, those kinds of things, in Taoism. So you can approach it from a multifaceted approach and still make that witness and be that beacon on the hill without shoving it down their throat, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's better received in this day and age. And you do have to adapt to the times. Now, again, you never shy away from and you're never ashamed of, Jesus Christ and your Lord, obviously, because if you deny him, he'll deny you. Right. But there's ways to do it without shoving it down the throat, I
hear you.
And I really feel like that's a thing that we need to focus on. And finally, next to finally, but James 1:5 says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all who without finding fault, and it will be given to you. So obviously pray for discernment, seek reputable knowledge, right? Learn the mechanisms of your digital enemies, which bringing it back to what we've been talking about. Learn how your enemy thinks and learn how to combat them. Equip yourself and your family and your church and your community and your children with that same knowledge and with that same ability for secure practices. We didn't talk about session versus signal, right? We touched on Telegram and we touched on Signal, but my secure communications mechanisms of choice is not Facebook Messenger or WhatsApp or Telegram or all those. For my close circle of friends, I use Signal or Session. Session is king. Session is the most secure communications solution out there right now, period. Session, right now, again, could be different in 6 months. Signal, some of its attack vectors are, like we talked about, they're lateral, right? And there's what servers are connecting to and things, where Session is a blockchain technology where it's coming from 1,000 different people's house. Like my Session message could have came from your house to my grandma, you don't know. But point is, taking the time to learn those technologies, where I'm going with that is taking the time to learn those technologies, how to apply them, and then teaching them to your peers, especially communications apps, right? Because if I'm using Session and Signal, is grandma, or is she using Facebook Messenger? And when's it okay to use Facebook Messenger? There's times, it's okay. You don't have to be a jerk about it. And finally, closing remarks, Philippians 4:6-7. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. And the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So by guarding your digital lives, by guarding your mobile devices, by guarding your finances, by guarding yourself physically, we're also guarding our spiritual lives and that which he has given us to oversee, the blessings he's given us. We're not spitting in his face, basically. It allows us also to continue serving him in the way that he wants to, right? So we don't get compromised, and we're not spending X amount of time on lawyers or X amount of time on losing money and being broke and can't go out and go to church that week or whatever. It's foundational. As odd as it sounds, all the little details in this digital world, it's foundational to you being that good shepherd and you taking care of what he's given you and being a witness for him.
Sure. And then, I was just having this discussion. It was Wednesday night. I was at a church doing church security training. They were mentioning all that. And I say, I carry a tourniquet on me. Talk about pocket dump. I carry a tourniquet. I carry a fixed blade. I carry a folder. I carry a Telex wrap. I carry, and it's all the stuff that I carry on me. And I'm like, in my truck, I got this, and I got stuff to suture and staple and blah, 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 blah. And one of the people was like, what are you scared of? I was like, nothing. If the nephew falls and cracks his head open, I've stapled his head before. Yeah. Like, we got you. Like, Thor, we're out there on a training op, and he ran across and it had a drink can in the woods. Of all things to step on, and it opened the side of his paw up, suture it, but now, so my family knows, we had a church picnic, man. It's like, all right, I'll drive us. I'm like, no. I don't get anywhere on my truck. Cause it's got my stuff staged, right? It's prepared. And so they're like, what are you scared of? I'm like, nothing, I'm good, and they were like, okay, what do we need to do? I said, start 10 years ago. All of this. And my point to them was all of this takes work. Worship, part of worship is work, right? In that original word. And so for us, and they were like, well, the guy, I'm 70. What am I supposed to do? You can pray, you can mentor, right? That is a beautiful thing. You talked about the armor, Ephesians 6, the armor. It's like, but then we miss being part of the army, where there's archers, there's spearmen, there's cavalry, there's cooks, there's cleaners, there's people who set up the tents and tore down the tents. Like everyone's got a place. And so it's one, I will never be you. I just know that. I'm so happy that you were on our team. Like you are foundational. And so it's one of those where I'm going, yeah, like I'm a door kicker. I'm a shooter. Like I'm pretty good at the whole tactics thing. I got the recon. I got the stuff figured out, Or you take Christian was on the last one. He's a great point man, or you've got, Rod, who's a great mentor and recon guy, or, you were just phenomenal with your little ninja nerd skills. Ninja nerd skills. Ninja nerd. I like it. Ninja nerd. All right.
Gator the ninja nerd.
Gator the ninja nerd with his ninja nerd skills, And so it's one of those, like, we all have a place. And then we have to, you talk about standing in the gap and being on the wall. Like, those people get to see further. They have I'm going to call it a burden. They have the burden of seeing further. And they get the arrows thrown at them, and they're the first line of defense, but they also don't get to sleep. But like, there's also something deeper there where you really can have a ripple effect, the impact. You toss a rock into the water. We don't know how far out or how deep those ripples go. And it's either a positive rock or a negative rock, right? And so I think about that just in your closing, where it says, the peace of God. Man, the nation today, we're getting our peace eaten so often. And so we have to think about, the peace of God's what guards our hearts, not our own ability to guard our hearts, which I think so much is society, that's where we shifted to. But then you also get that peace from discernment and from preparation and from your petitions and prayers and being in that covenant lifestyle with Him. So it's a good way to end. Just thinking about that. Dude, it's been wonderful. I've absolutely loved it. So
being here.
I know he threw a lot at you.
Yeah.
But,
rewind, pause.
But it's a little by little preparation,
How do you eat an elephant?
Yeah.
One bite at a time. That's it.
All right, dad joke. All right. Y'all, it's been great. Thanks for joining us for the episode.